In today's show, I want to talk about my theory on macro versus micro influencers. Now, obviously, a lot of us have aspirations to become an influencer or to amass millions of followers on social media. And in a lot of ways, it is because we're associating the number of followers with the amount of money that we're going to be able to make from social media. At least that's in the case of most of the people that I've spoken with. Now, what I want to talk about is some of the reasons that I feel macro influencers are able to amass so many followers. And a lot of it comes down to the type of content that they're putting out there. A lot of macro influencers are very entertainment based. And when we're putting out entertaining content, it is very engaging. People are watching it through. And also, as I've said recently on the show, it is highly shareable content. People love to share things that are funny. You know, even my wife and I were always sending funny videos of babies or animals back and forth. Her with her best friend, she's always sharing, clips on TikTok back and forth that are entertaining. So when we have these macro influencers with very entertaining content, it has a very broad appeal as well. It's relevant for almost everybody. They're able to amass very high levels of followings. And this is not always ideal when it comes to monetization. When we have a very broad audience because of the nature of our content, we don't always have the ability to sell things the same way that a niche or micro influencer does. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, but back in 2019, there was an influencer that had 2 million followers on Instagram, and she launched a t-shirt company, and she was unable to sell 36 t-shirts. So just think of that. When we think of macro influencers and millions of followers, when she had such a broad audience and they obviously weren't following her for these reasons, she was unable to sell 36 t-shirts. So we want to recognize this and understand that there are benefits to actually being a micro influencer, having a smaller, more targeted and more niche audience. And what happens with that is a smaller, more targeted audience means that we're attracting people into our sphere of influence that are there for a very specific reason. They're there for the message that we're specifically speaking to, the product or service that we're selling, the value that we're delivering. It's more tailored, it's more relevant, it's more specific, and with that, it's usually less shareable. It may be less entertaining to a broad audience because not everybody's gonna care. And typically, in my opinion, we may have fewer followers as a result. But that's okay because this is great for monetizing our products and services because we're building such a deep relationship with those people on a very specific and relevant topic. So this is something to consider when we're talking about aspirations of what we want to try and create. It's not always about having the most followers, it's about having the most relevant followers to what we're trying to sell. The one caveat is there are going to be opportunities like brand deals or potentially AdSense, depending on what platform you're growing on, that if you just simply have millions of followers, you may be able to monetize, but it's not always as easy as people think. So I wouldn't say one is necessarily better than the other, but there are considerations and pros and cons to both. If we can try and blend the benefits of both, I think we're going to be placing ourselves in the best position to grow our brand and to grow our business. That's it for today. Happy marketing.